The most extreme weather I experienced was when El Nino came and it rained so crazy that the entire Ruta Dos, which is the main road, flooded and there were dogs and people swimming across the road and and we lived in an apartment complex and it was all flooded. Everything. There was water and we lived on the third floor and there was water on the floor. And my companion was asleep and I told him, "Hey, can you hear that?" And he's like, "Shh, there's water in my face. I just want to keep sleeping." There was literally water coming onto his face from the rain. And that was probably the most extreme weather because after that morning, trees everywhere falling on top of houses. The flood was crazy, water everywhere. And I remember my entire desk got wet, everything, all my scriptures, my preach my gospel. I was really sad, but that was probably the most extreme that I had seen there. I would pack a lot of short sleeve shirts. I would not bring jeans at all. Even if you think you're going to use them for P-Day, you're not. Don't bring jeans. Bring basketball shorts. Bring jerseys for P-Day. Bring rain boots. Rain boots is a really high necessity because when it rains, it rains. It doesn't just like little rain. It'll flood most of the time. So you want a good footwear that'll be impervious to the water. And when you're walking around, um, bring a sombrero. As ridiculous as that sounds, you should definitely bring one, or at least purchase one when you get there, because the sun is so intense that you will for sure need a sombrero. Um, so yeah, don't. I would bring like one or two long sleeve shirts for interviews with your mission president and baptisms, but mostly short sleeve. It doesn't get that cold. It really doesn't. If you want to bring a winter jacket, don't bring it. Save that space and put in rain boots. Um, a raincoat, a sweater, maybe a hat for the winter. The winter really isn't that cold. The winter, I think I think the coldest it gets is like 45 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not that cold. 50 degrees, honestly, is usually what it is. Um, so because it's humid, yeah, a sweater will be fine. I don't think you need a heavy jacket or a big jacket. You do, however, I would say bring really sturdy shoes. There's a lot of rocks. Shoes die like super quickly. I went through, I think, 4 or 5 pairs of shoes. I brought two. I ended up buying 3 more pairs while I was down there. And the shoes in Paraguay aren't that sturdy. So if you could bring shoes from home and bring at least 3 or 4 good solid pairs, you should be fine. You'll definitely go through two. You will for sure go through 2 shoes, 2 pairs of shoes. So I'd be prepared for that. So I would pack probably that extra third pair if it really wanted to. That those rain boots, a raincoat, sweater, and short sleeve. Um, Pants. Actually, I learned this. Someone bought golf pants that look like slacks, so they look like they're appropriate for the mission, but because they're thin, they're less hot. So definitely try and when you buy your pants, definitely try and go for a thinner material because it gets hot and you just sweat so much that if you have thick pants, you're gonna sweat a lot and it's gonna be really hot. So even if you're wearing a short sleeve shirt, you'll still feel it. And so I would probably invest in that. I remember someone told me that and I was like, I want to know why I didn't do that. I should have definitely gotten thinner pants. And yeah, so I think packing wise, I think that's what I would pack. Um, Bug spray as well. That's not clothing, but you should definitely pack bug spray because if you get sent to Concepcion, if you get sent to somewhere in on the inside and it's hot and it rains, there are going to be mosquitoes. There's going to be dengue, so better. And mosquito repellent is a lot more expensive in Paraguay than it is in the States, actually. So just try and, like, I would say do that. Like, kind of think like that because the American products in Paraguay will always cost a lot more down in Paraguay than in the States. So if you can bring bug repellent, I would bring bug repellent. A really special moment, I think, on my mission was definitely in my last area. Um, I was in my last transfer, I think, yeah. Second to last, going into my last transfer. And I had contacted that area like crazy. I tried to talk to everyone that I possibly could, receive all the referrals that I possibly could, and I was receiving my new companion, who actually had already been my companion once. So I was kind of excited because I was gonna get an old companion back to finish my mission with. And I remember he came and he had already been there too. So he'd already been in the area. He'd already been my companion. So we were both kind of like, okay, what do we do? Like, like I have no idea. We were already companions. You were already here. And we would talk, and I would tell him about the place I would contact. And he's like, oh yeah, I already contacted all of that. I contacted this spot. It's like, oh, I haven't gone there yet. And I remember just getting so frustrated because I think everyone wants to end their mission on a high note. Everyone wants to end their mission saying like, yeah, we worked super hard. I got that last baptism. I like learned the most and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of pressure. I felt like it was a lot of pressure. And I remember we weren't having any luck at all. I like didn't know what to do. I thought I was washed up. I thought it was that I like all this time as a missionary. I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this it? Like, is this all? This my potential? And I remember that I just like had knelt down that day for personal study, and I just sincerely prayed to God, and I was just kind of asking for advice, from my dad, Heavenly Father. Like, what do I do? Like, what? Like, I feel like I've done everything that I possibly can. I've reactivated. I've retained. I've contacted everyone possible. Like, I don't know what else to do, and I need to figure out what is it that I have to do, because I'm really scared that I'm going to give up, and it's my last transfer. And so I don't know why I felt really inspired to read in the Book of Mormon that day, and I was reading about Abinadi and how he had gone back to the people that he already been denied from, dressed up as someone else in disguise, and how he went anyway because he was so diligent, and because he was so willing to do God's will and preach his gospel. And it just gave me like this boost of energy where it was like, well, I can't just give up just because all these people have rejected me. I have been rejected by all of these houses already. I can't just leave. I have to go back. Not back in disguise. Obviously, I'm not going to dress up, but I have to go back, and I have to try again. And we did our prayer that day, and we walked out. And I told him, I was like, all right, we're going to go to Conavidos. And he said, again, like, we were already there. Everyone's there, either a member and less active, or they don't want to talk to us. And I was like, no, like, it's fine. Like, we'll go visit this family first. So we went to go visit this family that we had just reactivated. And we were just sitting there. Everyone came out. And I remember my companion was like, oh, I remember this house. That little girl over there is my convert. And I was like, oh, really? Like, you were here like a year ago. Like, I'm sure she'll be super excited to see you. And as we were talking, this little girl comes out. And her name literally means miracle in Spanish. She comes out and she sits down, and we're just talking. And my companion bends over, like, kind of leans over again. He's like, hey, did she ever get baptized? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we just reactivated them, so I don't really know too much about who's a member, who's not. I just assumed they were all members. And she looked like a little girl. I didn't think she would be more than 8 or even 8. And as soon as he had said that, the mom stopped us, and she was like, oh, so when can we get my daughter's baptism ready? And we're like, oh, yeah, we'll talk to the branch president, and we'll get everything worked out, She's like, no, like, she's 10. So technically, I thought the missionaries were supposed to teach anyone above 8. And I was like, yeah, that's us. Well, yeah, and I literally had 3 weeks left on my mission when she had told us this. And we had no progressing investigators. We had nothing really going for us. We had people who were teaching, but none of them had come to church yet. And this little girl, part of a family we had just reactivated, we didn't even know she was 10. We didn't even know she wasn't a member. And the mom was just like, yeah, like, We want her to be baptized. We want you to teach her. With my last 3 weeks, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this just happened. Like, like we went back to this place, and like, it wasn't a contact, it wasn't this, but it was something, it was someone who was ready to receive this gospel, or at least make this covenant with God. And I really learned from that moment that God is always listening, and you just really have to put that faithful foot, and just kind of do it. God does not, send us in blindly. He doesn't ask us to do things that are impossible. He asks us to do things that are possible, which is why he asks us to do them. And that day I realized, like Abinadi who had gone back, and yeah, Abinadi would not have thought that he had so many converts, but that one person that did listen, Alma, ended up being one of the greatest prophets there in the Book of Mormon. So I don't know, if this little girl is going to grow up and be something great, but for now I know that she is a member, and that for the rest of her posterity, they'll know her as great grandma, so-and-so got baptized this long ago when she was 10. And that's just the start of it. And it was one of the really, really nice finishing touches to my mission, just because I had literally thought it was over. I literally thought I was just going to end my mission. I wasn't going to get that last baptism. I wasn't going to do that last, bam. And God had obviously had other plans. And after really praying and meditating, and him telling us to go back to that same area where apparently there was nothing, we had found that one person.